Welcome to Real Estate on the Rocks, where you get top shelf real estate conversations served straight up, never watered down. Here's your host, Dave Snowberger.
Hello, welcome back to Real Estate on the Rocks. I'm Dave Snowberger, joining the studio today with Alicia Hooper.
Hello.
AKA Taco. Taco Tuesday.
Yeah.
Ooh, dun dun dun.
Done it.
All right, we got Marshall Tucker and the new guy, James Mendez.
What's going on?
New guy.
Oh, not much of what's going on.
What's going on? I'm the new guy.
Too cool for school. Look at me.
I just get a head nod.
What's up?
Oh, the head nod.
That everybody can
What's
hear.
up?
It's
Yeah.
good. I like it.
Is that head
Those are
nod
the best
coming through
ones.
the microphone? All right, let's get to it. So today I want to talk a little bit about, I think we've touched on this in the past. However, I want to do the deep dive, the hover over lead follow-up. I think right now how things are looking, I know I'm coming from experience and contribution from my team, is that I see the problems we have are not with leads. It's not getting a lead. It's not having enough leads. It's always in the follow-up. It's in the follow-up that we seem to be dropping the ball a little bit.
He's looking at me.
We seem to be not following up with the intent of finding out as much from the potential buyer or seller or investor or whatever they need out of the real estate business. Whatever information they're not getting from where they can get it off the internet, where we provide value is really what. So that's the follow-up, right? So tell me a little bit. Let's just go ahead and dive right into it. Alicia, I'm looking at you. You can see me just staring into your eyes.
So romantical.
Romantical? Is that a word?
Yes, it is. Google it.
It is now. All right. So, I just kind of like, we were talking a little bit off before the show, and we were talking about the follow-up, and you had a really good system. It's always good to get perspective from producing agents, like what they're doing. What are they doing different from how we're doing it?
Mm-hmm.
We're doing it.
Weird.
So tell me a little bit about, follow-up. So you got your database stocked, you're sitting down, you're making calls for the day. It's all about the follow-up. Tell me about your day.
Absolutely. So it really depends on my audience, how that follow-up looks. So with my sphere, it's basically a touch. I am not directly asking for business. I am, as our leader says, sprinkling real estate dust on the conversation. Just want to make sure that, hey, I'm genuinely interested in your life. I see you on Facebook, or I saw you the other day, or whatever, and I just want to touch base with you.
Okay, so you're keeping the conversation kind of 80-20?
Correct. Yep.
Just 80%.
Absolutely.
Hey, how are you? Let's build rapport.
Yep.
I want to get to know you.
Yep.
Okay, so I mean, we're not far off.
No.
And I'm sure some of our conversations are a lot different. How I handle conversations versus how you handle.
Sure.
One thing I do is I always look for a tie down and follow up, and a reason why that I called them. If they mention something in their 20-word response, I can pull one of those words out that associates somewhere into my life, and I can tie them down. Oh, I've got friends that will go to that school, that went to that school, or I grew up close to that neighborhood, even though if it's 2-3 neighborhoods over, it's still the general area.
Right.
Something I can use as a tie down, and that usually helps build that rapport.
For sure.
And the rapport is really what we're after. Is we're trying to, and we're not being disingenuous at all. Like,
no.
I really want to know these folks,
Absolutely.
and get to know them a little bit better. And some folks are really interesting. So you get off the phone, it's like, well, you want to turn around and talk to everybody and just say, man, that was the coolest phone call. And those are the ones that I know and I can make notes of, and I found out a lot about them, and I found out his wife's name or the husband's name and their kids' names and things like that, and I can make notes of that, and so I can start just becoming friends with them.
Right.
And what's the saying, the acronym, the FORD? Is it
family, occupation,
recreation, dreams?
Yep.
And really talk about that. I think there's FROG also, which is family, recreation, occupation, goals.
Yeah.
So instead of dreams, you just replace with goals.
Goals.
Unless you want
Or
to
gold.
win gold. But that's kind of our thing is we do that. So Marshall, tell me a little bit about yours. I know you're kind of always testing. One of our things is AB, always be.
Right.
Then whatever word follows, and ABT comes to mind is we're always testing new things to say. And I know-
ABC, always be closing.
There you go.
Boom.
And so ABT is always be testing what works. Lately, I've been hearing you in a few conversations.
One thing I just want to add real quick
Sure.
before we move over to Marshall. With my real estate dust that I'm sprinkling on my
Sorting.
sphere, bless you, it's very strategic, right? So I'm watching them on Facebook, and I mean, it's very strategic what I say in terms of real estate. Okay.
Did you mean watching or stalking?
Stalking?
Is there a difference?
Totally stalking.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, I want to make sure it starts at the database. So you got to set up the timelines, make sure there's accurate data all within the database. And then it begins with a call. If I don't reach them, or if I do reach them, they're going to get a text with a video. They're going to receive a bomb email. And when I finally do make contact with them, it's not going to be all about the property. I'm going to ask personal questions. I'm going to ask lots of great questions. And even if we get on a squirrel that goes down a different path, I'll bring them back in a little bit later. But I'm trying to find out their kids' names. Do they have pets? Where they're moving to? Why they're leaving? What kind of job they work? Just all that good stuff. And then I'll send them a handwritten note with a little personal note about something that we talked about in there. And then later on, I'll follow up with another phone call. Did you get my card? Are we still in the same situation as we talked about before? And then kind of on the back end, when I'm looking at my CRM, I like to watch the e-alerts to make sure that they are actually checking the emails. If they're not checking the emails, I might have a bad email address, and everything I'm sending to that email address is just not going to work out. And then, of course, I also get on their social profiles, and I like to kind of see where they're at. Are they talking about moving? Are they a real person? Like do they have realtors on their page already? Like, just kind of see what's going on there. And then if I feel like, I'll just send them a friend request and slowly start interacting with them on their social profiles as well.
Nice. And I see, us working together so closely. I see that overall works for you. That's a great system that you've really documented. I just noticed sometimes your conversations change, and that's why I was talking about the always be testing. Lately, I've been noticing that on some of the callback stuff is I've come up with the analogy of that you're just going in for the kiss way too fast, and I think a lot of agents are doing that, and that's what I'm seeing being taught across the board of our industry is we kind of get crammed in our heads that it's a numbers game, right? And so then you take out all the personal connection that you can build with these people, and I think that we're ruining a lot of chances to
client controlling versus the relationship building.
Right. Relationship building is where it's at.
I think going in for the kiss in the beginning is okay with expireds because they're motivated, they're ready, they've already been through the game, so we need to get in fast and change.
Well, they've already been.
If you want to talk about that, go ahead.
They've already been wined and dined, right?
Right, there you go. They've already been wined and dined.
Yeah. But other than that, yes, it is definitely a process.
Okay. And so, that's really what I want to focus on today is helping some of these new agents. Most of our listeners are that 80% that might have a tough time in the first 2 years that just aren't killing it right when they walk in, and walking into a brokerage is just handing them basically, leads. So I always hear that, well, they give me leads. Okay, well, what do you do with those leads?
Right.
A lead is not that valuable unless you qualify the lead. And how do you qualify the lead? By, building rapport with them. And so if you have 100 leads and you're burning through them, what are you leaving on the table? We had a couple people on our team that, we turn on their lead flow because we do have a definitely a system that provides leads. When we bring them in, we turn on their lead flow, and nothing really was coming of it. However, we weren't staying really on top of them and showing them accountability or really kind of diving deep on what their plan was. We had written it out. It's a great plan. Here you go. And being in my position as a team leader, I'm just thinking that, okay, these folks are professional. I handed them this thing. They're going to certainly read it and then put the plan of action into play. And however they didn't, they were just really winging it, and so they were just getting on the phone and so, hey, I'm just following up with you. And it was one time and they were done.
Yeah.
A follow-up, the stats show it's about 7 times of substantial conversations of getting to know that person is when they actually become a qualified lead.
Absolutely.
Right?
And when you first get in, you're like, oh my gosh, like that is so much. I'm going to annoy these people.
If you don't get blocked, you're not following them.
That's right. But what I was going to say
if you
was,
get blocked, they were never a client in the first place.
Exactly. A motivated lead will never be annoyed by you or bothered by you or anything like that. You will never disturb a motivated lead, period.
Right. And so it's really calling also with some intentionality and some value, and if starting a friendship with somebody, that could be the most valuable part of this whole thing. You're not really having to offer them anything.
Right.
I'll send you free Starbucks cards or whatever else. I've heard everything under the sun just to try to get people to buy into them, and it just, to me, it's a little desperate. And I've never really had to do that. I've been fortunate enough to never really have to do that. And maybe when I first started, I didn't know what to say, but years after hanging around the right conversations and hanging around the right people, I started picking up on the conversations that were around me and started practicing more. And once I bought into practicing scripts and role play, I mean, it was a game changer. I mean, because I used to beat on my chest and be like, I don't need that. I'm a new agent and I'm doing, $3 million a year. Look at me, and then after a while, like that 3 million starts seeming like, well, I really need to, I've adapted, my lifestyle's adapted to the $3 million lifestyle after splits, whatever else. That's really not that much money. I didn't get into being an agent or into real estate just to make a decent salary of $40,000 or $50,000 a year.
Right.
I got into this to be independently wealthy and have financial freedom.
Living your best life, right?
Yeah, and selling $3 million wasn't going to do it. So I knew that I had to do something. I had to drop my ego a little bit. And like they say, ego's the enemy.
That's right.
Right? So as soon as I figured out my ego, which is still there intact, I still got it, But,
you just turn it off.
Right. I'm not silly enough to surround myself with the best people in the business to realize what they're saying and just really kind of rip off and duplicate everything that they're doing in a good way.
Yeah.
It's all a sharing community in the first place.
Absolutely, yes.
And just taking these things and putting them in place. I knew more what to say, and then was just my abilities to be comfortable in any conversation in the first place and make phone calls in the first place. I don't like it. I don't like getting on the phone. I've called call reluctance. However, I know that once I'm on the phone, everything's fine.
Yeah.
The person on the other end typically doesn't know who I am, but they're going to know who I am by the end of our 10 or 15 minute conversation. I'm going to know a lot about them. I'm going to have a lot of good notes, and I'm going to be able to, set up folks for, my team to meet. Maybe it's I'm not them. Maybe they can't use me at this time, right? I'm not going to go in for the kiss. I'm gonna hang back a little bit, and I'm gonna see what it is, and maybe it's a referral. You're doing weird things.
Yeah, you are.
Marshall's blowing kisses.
Yeah. He's doing like a play-by-play,
But it was like slow-mo.
like an interpretation of like everything that I'm saying. He's trying to like blow kisses and stuff in the air.
The slow-mo is what got me.
And one thing I wanted to touch on real quick while I have it on the top of my mind is the follow-up is completely different for sale by owners, withdrawals, and expireds
100%.
than it is friends, family, and past clients.
Yep.
That's completely two different follow-ups,
Yep.
right? So over here, the friends, the family, and the past clients, especially the past clients, it's really just that. It's like, hey man, how you doing? How's the house? How's this? How's
Right.
that? And you can start those conversations a number of different ways. One thing I like to do is always, if I was in the neighborhood, I live in a not a small community, but Williamson County. I'm out and about. I'm a real estate agent, so I drive past homes that I sell all the time. Well, it's not BSing them any manner, saying, hey, look, I drove by your house the other day. You were on my mind. I wanted to call and say hi. They just happened to pull up on the folks that I needed to call. Their sale anniversary just
Right.
came up. And I just
House
want to
anniversary.
follow. Yeah, house anniversary came up, and I just want to call, say hello, and whatever else. And like, hey, one thing we had talked about was like, I love referrals. Do you have anybody that's moving to the area? After you live in here for a year now and moved here from California, you said you have some friends that want to move here. Do you know anybody? It's like, no, but my neighbor's talking about selling.
Yep.
It's like, oh, which one? The blue house or the old, big colonial next to you. It's like, well, the colonial. And I'm like, okay, well, that'd be cool. That's probably a $700,000-$800,000 sale. Is that my wheels? Tell me more. What has he said? And I'll pump them for as much information as possible. And they know what I'm doing. It's to no surprise.
Right.
What I'm doing is like, I'm asking them for information about the house because he knows, because I've helped him in the past.
Right.
I found them a top 5 house in Georgetown, Texas. The call was, find me a top 10 house for $1 million, and that's what we want to spend. Go find it. I found him a top 5 house for $780,000. So I did him a solid.
And
For
worked
sure.
hard for that one.
And now he has
5 months close. I worked hard for that one.
well, now he has a wonderful opportunity to pick his neighbors. So, I mean, you're giving him another leg up, so to speak.
Absolutely.
If you take that approach.
Absolutely, and that being a historic district, that's important
For sure.
because you just don't want anybody moving in that's
Right.
might just there's not a big there's a historic district, but there's not a big HOA, so somebody could just come in next door and pop up an El Camino on blocks and start working on it, and just, throwing out some White Snake all day long and got the mullet flowing and, you're just crushing some Pearl beers, I mean, you just wouldn't want that, right? Actually, Chad would probably love that, thinking about it,
Makes me want to sing that song, El Camino,
Right?
El Camino. Y'all know that one?
No.
Sure don't.
Front is like a car, the back is like a truck.
Nope.
No?
Never.
Okay, never mind.
We're stuck on Baby Shark at the house.
Okay.
We're stuck on Baby Shark. All right. So with that, let's go to the new guy. So you're probably one of the ones we're trying to influence and have great conversations around. That we bring you into the office, and a lot of times we start off the morning with a mastermind, and I usually like it around the topic that I think we're going to work on that day. And so a lot of this lately has been about follow up.
Yep.
And so I just want to see what you're picking up. I walked in this morning at 8:45. You're on Mojo. You're having some great conversations. I was impressed by it, and so it sounds like you're listening to some of our conversations. You're taking some of our advice on the questions to ask and how to build rapport with for sale by owners, which everybody thinks that they're the big bad wolf and every one of them's obstinate and doesn't want to list. I find that they're one of the easiest sources of business.
They're putting a
out
sign
there.
in the yard saying, "Come help me."
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Accepting applications.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, that's why I went after for sale by owners, and I could get the list on Zillow, so that helped. And a bunch of them don't have pictures or have horrible pictures, so is it easier lead into to connect with them or talk to them, because it makes it easy for a conversation. And so I started doing that, and then trying to have more of a conversation outside of checking the information to see if I have what's relevant for the house, and then some tie downs. Like I talked to one guy who's building a house and he can't go into it because of school. And so it's like $1.something million house. Had a great conversation. He's adopting a child. My late wife was obviously adopted. So there's like some great communication and stories and some really interesting conversation. Today I was talking to a builder who has 2 places he's building and he's trying to sell those. And then who else did I talk to? A couple other people.
I called them too right after you.
Did you?
Yeah, I got an appointment tomorrow.
Just playing. Just playing.
We started the conversation. He closed.
Just trying to deflate you.
2 calls later, I got booted out. Something happened with the Mojo. But
Bad Mojo.
I know.
He has some
No,
bad mojo.
it was good.
It was called bathroom break.
No, but I had some solid conversations this morning, really connecting with some people and helping them out. Even the guy who didn't want to do any business with any agent, wasn't going to pay a commission on the buy or sale side, and was trying to end the conversation. I kept asking a couple questions and he didn't respond, and then trying to end the conversation, ask a couple more, and it just kept going and going. And then finally I was like, all right, well, have a nice day.
Yeah, go till you don't want to piss them off, but however, you can certainly see. I know I am when people call me, I just want off the phone, right?
He was reluctantly responding.
There's a certain threshold that they can pass with me where I'm subconsciously okay, I'll talk to you. You want to know why I don't want your insurance? And just kind of, why? I mean, because I know that I have great insurance. I know what it costs. I know you can't beat it. I've had this conversation in the past. I was just
You've called me 5 times already, and I've told you no.
To be polite with you to get you off the phone. And I, being a salesperson, I mean, that's what I am as a real estate agent. I'm a salesperson. I respect the hustle. I respect that person was calling me over and over again. So finally, I'll stop being short with them, and then stop putting in their insurance guy block number, or don't answer or whatever. I'll just answer this time and say, hey, look, let's have a thing. Let's see if I can really get you to remove me from your list, and just have a real conversation, because I know he's just like me on the other end. He's just trying to make a living, and I respect his follow-up game. I do it too.
Yeah.
But he's not where he's making, and we actually, it was funny because one of the ones I think I've told you before, you've seen me do it, is I've flipped it and tried to get him. I'm like, you'd be a great ISA. Have you ever thought about real estate? And I've turned it on him. And sometimes they're not
you
really
made him go
Christian
through
because
every
their calls are being recorded. They more than likely receive a paycheck. They're not all commission, and they certainly have somebody there that's judging their calls, or if they have to hit so many minutes, whatever else. So when I drug it out on one of them and kept them on the phone, He was selling cutting boards. That's what he was doing.
You gave him every objection in the book.
Yeah, and I gave him everything in the world and threw everything at him, and he was just nailing him everything.
You hear
I was like,
pages
dude.
turning.
Yeah, I was like, dude, you're good on the phone, man. I was like, I'd love to hire you. You know, and you can do what you do from. It looks like you're calling from Florida, are you? And he's like, no, I'm calling from like Maine. And I'm like, you got a Florida number that shows up here. So he's using Mojo too. Just
Right.
it's scattered somewhere else. You know,
Yeah.
he's using a dialer, I guess. But you know, I went for the close on him. I was like, hey, you know, check out our website, things like that. I don't have any information on you. What's your name? And I'm sure his name was a BS name. But he was
Right.
selling cutting boards. You ever got that call? He sells cutting boards and the logo. They'll do your logo on it
That's
for
funny.
you know. And if you buy over 20 of them, they're like X amount of dollars. You buy 40, whatever else. But the funny thing is, I walked into an agent's office one day out at our old office, and I walked in, and she had like stacks and stacks of boxes. I was like, "What the hell is all these boxes? Like, do you
Cutting
want all these
boards.
books?" And she's like, "Cutting
Got
boards."
her.
I was like, "They got her."
Got her.
Sucker. But they were great cutting boards. They were
Right.
nice looking, you know. And I mean, they were
That's one of those-
definitely worth the money. But I don't think I'm going to close 400 homes this year.
Right.
You know, maybe I'll talk down the road when I start closing 400
There you
homes.
go.
But
That's one of those don't do as a new agent things.
right.
Yeah, seriously.
Right.
Yeah.
Cutting boards are not.
Yeah.
Not
you
beneficial
don't
to your
go for that.
Right. So you
So-
had great conversations. What is your follow-up game for FSBOs?
Cards. I mailed out 5 yesterday. So handwritten thank you cards, which we're implementing and kind of.
If you haven't seen him write, he writes
we're not
really
implementing.
small.
That's been our thing
and he
for a
writes
while. We're
book.
just-
Okay,
we're just-
I'm. Oh
That
yeah,
doesn't
let me
surprise me.
rephrase that. I'm implementing the plan that was already in place that I wasn't doing.
Right.
So
right.
now
He
I'm
was like,
refining
we
my
were
skills.
supposed to send out cards. Yeah.
Mine says, "Thanks for taking my call and speaking with me on the phone, Marshall." And James writes like a novel.
Yeah.
They need a magnifying glass to read it.
I think that for the conversation, then I try and give like one other little piece, and you know, it was great talking to you about something. Or
And the
appreciate
main thing
things.
is
wrong
guys
way.
do it. I'll
That's
tell
right.
you
3 seconds.
how many we've had. You know, hey, what, Mr. Mrs. Seller, what's the reason why you finally gave us a chance? Versus, we know that a lot of people from different brokerages all over town were calling you. How did you decide to go with us? Well, what really got me was the handwritten note you sent me. You know, and just kind of like, cool.
Because nobody
And-
does it anymore.
No,
they think
no,
it's
a
overrated.
lost
you know?
art
Right.
for sure.
Absolutely.
And I used to see my dad do it when I was a young age. Actually, I think I used to seal them all up for my dad. He would write them, and I'd seal them and lick the envelope and lick the stamp and put it on there. And I would sit at his office all day long while he did that.
Yeah.
Or he'd hand me a huge stack of them. It was like, I'll give you $20 to get all those, and then put them on your bike and run them up to the post office real quick. And
Nice.
so I always saw that. And so when we started talking about it, or we started hearing about it from other professionals in the business, this is what they do. I was like, oh, we should start doing that. You
Yeah.
know?
Pro
And then we
tip.
started doing it like everybody we came in contact with. We would basically stalk them, find out where they were, and if we could find their address, they were getting a handwritten note from us with a business card in it.
I love it.
The only time we ever sent anything out that's
Hold
a
on.
handwritten.
Pro tip: put your business card in it before you seal the envelope, so you don't have to cut it open.
Oh,
put your
good
business
Lord.
card in.
Come
and
on,
then-
new guy.
And then
Leave
label it.
$7 worth of stamps.
No, I didn't. Hey, I cut it back and used one of our company logo stickers on the back.
now the person's gonna be like, "Who's been reading my mail?"
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
That's my mail cut open.
Is this safe? No.
Cool.
It's
All right,
definitely
so
dangerous.
the fortunes and the follow-up. When is it when you see that? What threshold do you have? Is it just ever changing? I know everybody in the room doesn't really have enough data. I'd say make enough phone calls. I mean, I haven't logged 10,000 phone calls, and that's really that level of mastery, right?
Yeah.
So I haven't logged 10,000 phone calls.
Right.
However, I could say that after about 3 to 4 points of initial contact, I can tell that if we're going to get anywhere or not, and I kind of give up after 3 or 4. That's my fault because I preach 7. Right. And so I know that I push these guys a little bit harder when it comes to the follow up. It just, you have to just continue to call. One reason was we dove in. So we took over those. I brought the story up earlier. We took over those 2 people that we let go from the team because we couldn't get anything going with them. And it just seemed like 80 leads a month for each of them were just going down the tubes. And so we always take those and reassign those back to the agents that are here and say, call them. And they hate calling them because it's their mindset that they're trash leads, right? Trash leads are fantastic. You can see and you can just, they won't really remember the first time, the
You're
first
starting
point of
from
contact.
scratch,
They're not
yeah.
going to remember the old agents that called
Right.
them. And if they're interested in moving forward and doing something, they can. However, Marshall got a hold of 2 of them. One had built a house and one had bought a house in neighborhoods here in Williamson County where we serve at a high level, right? And so we missed 2 leads that were sitting in our database. And I would probably say, let's just go with an average. We'll go on the low end, $300,000. That's $18,000 worth of commission that the team gave up because we didn't have an accountability thing or system in place that was going to hold these agents accountable for following up their leads. There were no notes on them. There were no anything else. There was like, hey, I've contacted them before, and that's it. They didn't answer. Is usually what I get. And so one time they call them, agents do this all the time, is they call them one time or they call them twice and they're done. They're out.
Right.
They never picked up.
Yeah.
They never picked up. Like how many times you call them? If you really press, you can find out typically once, max twice.
And if they don't pick up, text.
With a video.
With a video, it'd be fantastic. Yeah.
Call. Well, I've been having a lot of success with that. One of my buddies, Scott Gibson, brought that to me about a year and a half ago. He's having a lot of success with his coaching clients that are doing video text. And so I started doing it. The first time I ever did it was actually somebody called me and said, hey, there's a ranch property for sale by owner. I thought they knew him.
Yeah.
I thought it was a referral. And it wasn't. It was just, hey, I'm working FSBOs. I don't want to call this one because it's a ranch. I know you sell farm and ranch, so you should call him. That's not what I heard. I heard this is a family friend. I should call him, right? So, like, no pressure.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's a referral. I got this.
Yeah.
And so I pick up the phone. It's like, hey, sir, blah, 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 blah. I'm Dave Snowberger. I sell farm and ranch here in the Williamson County area. I know you're only about 10 acres or so. I can still help you sell this property. And I kept it all within under 1 minute, right? And I sent it out to him and immediately got a call back. And then he's like, yeah, 100 agents have called me. You're the first person to do that.
Nice.
And I was like, what do you mean 100 agents have called you? Like, I thought it was a referral.
You're like, hold on.
and he's like, well, I'm being for sale by owner. I'm on Zillow, and it's just like everybody in the sun's calling me, and that's
Right.
when the pressure came on. But I got the appointment, and I went,
Nice.
and I got the listing,
Sweet.
and then he sold it to somebody at church. And the one caveat we agreed upon was like, if this guy from church buys it,
Yeah.
that I wouldn't be there. But then he referred me to another 11-acre property about 5 miles away. Same difference.
Nice.
Had the big stock tanks. I mean, the same pond I love to fish in, right? The 10-acre properties, ranch style properties that have like all the great features of the Texascapes. Anyway, I loved it, and so that was all in the follow up coming from a video text. So I love the video text.
What is your program that you use for video text?
Can't tell you that.
Yes, you
Yeah,
can.
that's the one thing we can't give away. It's just our phones.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, it's just our phones. Oh, you already knew that answer. Oh, you were just prepping me for the audience.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, now I feel bad. You got me.
Now I feel like the idiot I am. All right. Well, we want to wrap this one up, or we want to keep it going. You guys let me know. I can keep going forever. Let's wrap it up. I'm getting the helicopter. Let's wrap it up. All right.
Wrap it
So
up,
thanks for
box.
joining us. I want to mention our sponsor real quick, Mike Harrell over at Guild Mortgage. He's always there to serve you here in the Austin, Texas area, really anywhere in Texas. I believe he's licensed in some other states. So if you're interested in Mike Harrell, you can always visit him on our website, realestateontherocks.com/Mike Harrell. Is that what it is?
Mike.
Something like that.
Mike.
Just reach out to one of us.
Google him.
I want to be like Mike.
Yeah, info@realestateontherocks.com. Thanks for listening, and you'll hear us next time.
Bye, y'all.